Alright, under the car of the Town and Country, you could see here, they should have a rubber around it. And what this rubber is supposed to do is keep the axle from hitting the frame when you hit a pothole or a really big hole. So on the way down to Florida, this thing was banging into the frame like crazy. So we're going to replace these. These are called bump stops. So there's this one here. And I'll show you the one on the other side. It's really bad. You can see this pretty much has its whole shape left. I'll show you the other side. So there's the other one. Well, there's what's left of the other one. So I'm gonna spray PB Blaster on them and let them sit for a while, and then we're gonna try to knock them loose and replace them. Alright, so I'm having trouble getting this one out, so I ground it down flat, and I have a broken bolt laying in my toolbox. So what I'm going to attempt to do is weld it to that, and then I have something to grab it with, because this thing does not want to move. As you can see here, I was hitting it with a chisel and a sledgehammer, and I can't get it to move. So I'm going to attempt welding this nut on there and see what happens. So we got her welded on here, and not very pretty, as you can see. But this should be enough to hold. I might tack that one corner a bit, but yeah, as you can see, I wasn't going for pretty. I was going basically just to get it attached, and hopefully we can get it off with a wrench or a socket. Maybe not a socket because of that drip, but maybe a wrench. All right. Since I ended up putting that bubble on there, kind of messed it up to put a wrench or a socket on it. But I just sprayed it with some PB Blaster. And we got a good old monkey wrench, pipe wrench, whatever you want to call it. And what we're going to see if we can get this thing to move at all. Looks like it's trying to move. Between all that heat and having something to grab onto now, it looks like it is going to come out. Like I said, it's not the best weld job, but it seems to be working. So I'm going to work on this, and then I'll tell you if it worked. So far it's moving, so it looks good. Well, I am getting it to move. As you can see, there's starting to be a gap here, but it's getting kind of hard, so I'm working it back and forth, hopefully able to get that out. Well, my weld held up, but the bolt didn't. So I guess I'll be drilling that one out. So that sucks. Alright, I tried knocking that other side off, and this thing broke right off. So I'll be welding a nut to the other side as well. These are not easy to get out, at least on an older vehicle. Yeah, I'll think of something. So for the nuts that will fit on here that I found, they're M8 125s. So what I did, I got a piece of flat stock. This is whatever, if you want to see the thickness. That's the thickness there. And I drew 2 lines and I put 2 center punches. So we're going to drill a hole each one of these pieces of metal. I'll do off camera. You don't need to, you should know how to drill a hole. And then I'm going to cut these, and then what we're going to do is, after I drill the holes, we're going to weld a nut to this piece of metal, and then this is going to get welded to the frame. After you get the 2 holes drilled, you're going to grind off all the oxidation. That way you can get a nice good weld to it. So what I did is I bought just a piece of M8 material. It'll screw on there. And then we're just going to drop it. And then weld the nut here. And weld the nut here. I'm going to weld these on so that they're stationary. Alright, so after you get your bolt welded, I mean, I'll probably touch this up a bit, but it's pretty strong. So now this, you could screw onto the plate like that. Just like that. So then you could see, this is where I'm going to cut it. Hopefully that's going to be enough. But that's what the thing will screw to now that the bolts on the car are completely rotted. Looks like I should make that one a little bigger, but it'll be alright. We'll work with what we got, because I'm gonna weld each side as well as the, so, but yeah, this will work. So I'm gonna do the same thing to this one, and then I'll show you how to put them on the car. Alright, so once you get done, you should end up with 2 plates that will screw into these, nice and easy like that. And we're going to weld these plates to the frame of the car. So I'll show you that next, but I got to cut. We're going to weld these frames to the frame of the car, but I got to cut room in the frame to drop this. I want this weld inside of the frame. So that way the flat spot, that way I can tighten these all the way down to the flat. So I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, so what you're going to want to do to jack it up is you're going to want to jack it up from the center. Put a safety jack here and a safety jack there. You're going to let it back down. And then we're going to jack up the car from the car part instead of the frame. And that'll give us separation so we can get in there with some power tools to fix it. Alright, so once you got the car jacked up, you're going to want to move all the wires out of the way the best you can. So I'm going to cut, actually you can kind of see, I'm going to cut this square out so I can put my plate in here. So what I'm going to use to cut this is I'm going to score it with a, hopefully I'm going to score it with a grinder, and then I'll finish off all the cuts with a cutoff wheel with a Dremel. Alright, so we're going to start off with the grinder. We're going to make a little cut there. You can see the cut. And we're going to make a little cut here. We're going to cut here. thing's a piece of shit. Can't stand Ryobi garbage. On the side of the frame here, you're gonna want to mark with a marker where the center of this bolt is for when you weld the plate back in. So I'm gonna do that now. I'm just gonna mark the center of the bolt, and then we're gonna finish cutting that out and then welding it back in. All right, once you get it cut out, you should be able to break it right off. And now you have a little hole in your frame. This is why it's important to mark right here. Show them right here. This is why it's important to mark that spot where your center point is. All right. Now, as you can see, there's nothing special to this. This is just a bolt welded to a piece of frame. Basically, the same thing that I created. As you can see, nothing special. So if you look, now we'll clean up the frame, get under here, and we'll weld that right into spot like that. You know, a little more center, but you know, I have to tack it and clean it up. But this is why it's important to have this dot, so you can line up this where the old one was. But as you can see, it's the same thickness, just a piece of steel. We're not really doing too much damage to it, and any extra cuts that we ended up putting into, I just did it with the, I was going to use the Dremel, but I didn't even have to. I just used the regular grinder. Just make sure you don't hit your brake lines and your ABS, you know, move that out of the way. Now we have a nice big hole. This whole entire weld will fit right in there, nice. You can move it however you need it. We're gonna grind all this off. I may need to trim a bit because of this bracket, so I might need to trim a bit to get it. It wants to be there, so I got to trim a little bit here to get around this bracket. But all in all, now I'm pretty happy with the result. So that's the first one prepped. That's it. You're gonna want to get all the metal shiny like this so that the weld has a nice clean bond. So this one is ready to be welded up. The only thing I have to do is I have to trim that plate, but we're gonna go on the other side and prep the other side. But I'm not gonna show that on camera. I'll just show you that it's, you know, I cut it out. All right, here's the second one. As you can see, this one's a little different. It has like some kind of weird washer on it. Here, flip that around so they can see it. But yeah, same thing. A bolt welded to a piece of metal. And I'll show you the frame. And here's the frame. I got it cut out, grinded up, and ready to be welded. So yeah, next step is just starting to weld. Alright, now we're ready to weld. Make sure you disconnect both terminals of your battery. You don't want any juice going to your battery. I've heard of batteries exploding, and also I've heard of you blowing your relay center or frying your computer. So I don't know how true any of that stuff is, but I'm not going to chance it on my car. So I'm going to disconnect both of them before I weld. Alright, as you can see, I kind of cut a little bit too much. I'm going to fill this in with weld first. So you're going to want to get a good ground. So I'm going to use this. I'm just going to grind it and put the clamp here. And then I'll weld that, and I'll show you what that looks like. I'll grind it down, and then we'll start putting the plates in. Alright, as you can see, the cuts I welded up. So I'm going to grind those down now, and then we're going to weld in the plate. Alright, so the next thing you're going to want to do is prep the bottom of the plate like this. This is going inside the frame, so it'll sit flat. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold it with a glove and try to tack it into place. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, you can see, give me those glasses, man. You don't need both. I want no dirt in my eyes. As you can see, I welded these up pretty nice. Nice enough. So the object here, or the goal here, is to line this up roughly like this. Yeah, that's looking better. It's not going to be perfect. I don't know if I should. Either way, it's upside down. I don't know if that's going to be. Well, that one shows here and that one shows there. I guess we'll go we'll center it. Alright, so right here is where I'm going to weld it, lined up with this mark that I made. We're just going to tack it for now. Keep missing. There we go. Nice little tack weld. Alright, so once you get it tacked like that, now I'm just going to run a bead all the way around it. And we should be good. You know, this one will be done. I'm not going to show you the whole weld process. It takes a little while, but I'll show you the end result. Give me my... Alright, as you can see, this is all welded up. It's not a very pretty weld, but it is a strong weld. So the only thing we're going to do now is we'll hit it with some black paint. And then we'll go do the other side. Alright, so after you get these welded up like this, give it a little paint job. What you're going to do, keep the threads from rusting. You're going to buy this red RTV. And basically you're going to douse this whole entire thing in red RTV. Just like that. Now this, what the red RTV is going to do is it's going to keep it from backing out from vibration, and it's going to be a rust inhibitor. So you'll be able to take these back out. So you only have to tighten these hand tight as you can get it by hand. And that silicone is going to dry and keep it from backing back out. And there's your new part. Nice and sturdy. I can't put the other one in right now because I'm waiting for the paint to dry, but there you go. So don't worry about if your bolts snap. You can still get them in. Alright, as you can see, this one's installed. And that one is installed. So basically when this comes down, it'll hit this plate and you'll stop that banging and you'll increase your tow capacity. Because if you have none like I had, this car is going to sag so bad when you have people in it and if you try to tow. Alright, I got 3 of my sons sitting on the car. You can see the suspension is squatting a bit, but still plenty of room. Let's see what they look like here. Boom, look at that. Sitting nice. Bounce a little bit. See that? Let me check the other side. Go ahead, bounce a bit. Yeah. That's going to keep your car from squatting. And yeah, that's a good job, man. It's a good fix. Definitely a success.
Yeah, roughly 4 or 5 inches.
Yeah, man, that's good. That's 4 or 5 inches that the car won't squat. Yeah. So yeah, you're gonna get 4 or 5 inches of clearance on your suspension by installing these. Plus, you won't get that loud bang when you go over bumps, because your axle won't hit the frame anymore.